This conference will now be recorded.
You're good, Mayor.
In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Law, I wish to state that on October the 23rd, 2020, the notice of this meeting of the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official Township Bulletin Board, the Upper Township website, and the Town Hall foyer, mailed to the Cape May County Gazette, the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the Township Clerk. Tonight's meeting is being audio recorded up until the closed session portion of this meeting and will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct that this announcement be made a part of the minutes of this meeting. I would ask, but Barbara, do you have your flag? Yes, you do, behind you. So all to rise for the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Here.
Mr. Coggins,
Here.
Mr. Corson, and Mayor Palumbo.
Here.
Excuse me, am I exempt from this?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
this is Frank Corrado. Do you want me to speak now?
Yes, please.
All right. For members of the council or the committee, this is Frank Corrado. I've been retained in this case by the township to advise the township on the legal status of Mr. Young with respect to his membership of the committee. I have reviewed the statute and I have reviewed the case law interpreting the statute. My opinion is that the seat formerly occupied by Mr. Young is vacant at this time. Mr. Young submitted filed a written resignation with the municipal clerk on the 19th, last Friday, October the 19th. And as a matter of law, in my opinion, upon the filing of that written resignation, the seat became vacant. So that insofar as I am concerned, the seat is vacant. Mr. Young is not currently a member of the municipal committee. I understand that Mr. Young may have an opposite or a different opinion. And if that's the case, he has legal remedy. But this is not the time or place to discuss those legal remedies. And in fact, it is my advice to the council, or to the committee, excuse me, that there be beyond the fact of the seat being declared vacant, the committee members make no further statement about the status of the seat. Given the possibility of litigation, I think it would be inappropriate, completely inappropriate, for there to be any further discussion of the merits of the issue at this point.
And my statement to that will be that my attorney and other people that we've talked to in the legal field totally disagrees with that. We were the mindset that it was a panicked verbal on this when I talked to the mayor and Dan Young, and I got nothing but misinformation. I did not send in a signed letter for my resignation. I sent an email to Barb that told her that I was going to resign. They have not accepted or received, I should say, a signed letter, which is required by the law, or a signed email to terminate me at this time. So at this point, this will be handed over to my legal team, and you will be hearing from my lawyer at a very soon date. You are wrong with this interpretation. And bottom line, I was bullied by the people outside, and I'm bullied by the people inside. Have a good night, and I'll see you in court.
Mr. Mayor, just so it's clear, I disagree with the legal interpretation that Mr. Young just advanced. It is my legal opinion that the seat is vacant and that a valid resignation was filed by Mr. Young with the municipal clerk on the 19th. As he says, if the matter is to be litigated in court, it's to be litigated in court. But I think that's the place for it to be resolved. and it is inappropriate for there to be any further discussion of the matter at this time. I'd also say that there was a closed session listed to discuss this matter on the agenda tonight. But in light of what's just transpired, I do not think that that closed session is required further unless council wishes to hear more from me with respect to my legal opinions about the matter. If that's the case, we can have a closed session at the end of the meeting and I'll participate in it. I will also remain in the meeting to the extent necessary to respond in the case of any public comment.
I didn't, no, I sent Barb a quick text saying I'm going to be stepping down. No, I didn't send the letter. I sent nothing to the county. That's what I'm saying. They're lying assholes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think that it's appropriate to have this kind of discussion at this point in this meeting.
I don't think he realizes he's still on the mic.
No, I didn't. I apologize for my language, but I never sent anything to the county or to the county party whatsoever. Goodbye.
Right. So let's proceed with the rest. I mean, I think at this point, based on what has been received, and we've received an opine from our outside counsel, Mr. Frank Corrado, that as long as everybody's comfortable with that, I guess we can proceed with the meeting unless you feel at this point we should go into closed session for advice of counsel.
No, I'm fine with it, Mayor.
Okay. John, you're okay?
I'm good.
Curtis?
Yeah. Good.
Okay. All right. So thanks, Frank, but we'll ask you to stay on, please. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes, both open and closed, from the October 13th meeting?
Motion to approve?
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor.
All right, so we'll do some report from our staff members. Scott, do you have anything this evening?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and committee members. Just our report from the Cape May County Department of Health. As of today's date, October 26th, the County Health Department is reporting 16 new positive cases among Cape May County residents. Total to date is 1,565, including 94 deaths. In Upper Township, we had residents active cases, 23 as of today, and a total for since the beginning inception for Upper Township of the COVID-19 pandemic, 187. That's all I have for you this year.
So, Scott, am I correct that there were 5 new cases reported today as well?
Total of 16 for the Cape May County, and yes, 5 new cases for Upper Township.
So I think it's prudent for everyone to understand that there seems to be a spike not only across the United States, but also in our little township here. So, please be very cautious, wear a mask, and please practice social distancing.
And also, I might add, Mayor, that and I know we discussed it at our last meeting, but it probably warrants a reminder that with Halloween fast approaching, it's definitely recommended to review the CDC and our Upper Township websites for alternative methods to keep everyone safe with respect to trick-or-treating.
So we're going to have a resolution to address that. We are going to have Halloween, and I'm sure everybody will be as cautious as possible. So,
thank you.
All right, Barbara Young.
Nothing to report at this time, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Barbara Ludi.
I'm sorry, I had to unmute. I have nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Paul Dietrich.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to report a status on the paving project. They've been steadily working over it on Commonwealth Avenue in Strathmere, waiting for the curb contractor to come on site probably towards the end of this week, early part of next week. And then the full paving will probably start in Tuckahoe and Steelmantown area over the next 7 to 10 days. So we'll continue to see that progress moving over the next month or so. And that's all I had to report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Committeeman Coggins.
Nothing to report this evening, Mayor.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Dan. I apologize.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Barr.
As you know, Mayor and the rest of the committee, we have an opening in the Public Works Department, and we held several interviews of candidates. And as a result of those interviews and recommendations from management, I would like to make a motion for consideration and hiring of David Tarvis, pending the background investigation and other background studies.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any further discussion? Barbara, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor?
Thank you, Mayor. That's all.
Okay. Committeeman Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last Saturday, we had our rabies clinic. At Shore Vet, we had 110 animals vaccinated. It was a very good turnout for the fall. So that's all I have at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, great. Thanks. I have nothing further to add to the discussion. So, Barbara, I'd ask that you move on to the resolutions, please.
Very good. Item number 1, designating November 1st, 2020 as Change Your Clock, Change Your Battery Day in Upper Township.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 2, amending Resolution 271, 2020, designating the date and time for trick or treat in Upper Township, and the new date and time. Well, the new time, the date is October 31st. The time will be 4 to 7 p.m.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 3, authorizing the award of a contract with CDW Government LLC for information technology equipment.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 4, appointing John Britton and Jonathan Carter as full-time emergency medical technicians to the Upper Township Division of Emergency Medical Services.
With the resolution.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson, Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 5, authorizing a contract with Pointer and Cantor Associates for the traffic engineering services.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 6, appointing Mally Givens, PC, and J. Ames Mally Jr. to act as special legal counsel with regard to redevelopment law.
Motion to
Motion to
appoint.
approve. Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
and Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 7, authorizing a contract with ARH Associates for environmental consultant services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor? Item number 8, appointing an official to bid at the tax sale scheduled for November 17th, 2020 at 10 a.m.
Move the resolution. Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 9, authorizing a payment from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of Upper Township.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 10, authorizing a payment from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund of Upper Township pursuant to the Affordability Assistance Program.
Motion to authorize.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. 11, authorizing the mayor and/or municipal engineer to sign and submit an application to the NJDEP for the reconstruction of Beasley's Point Park boat ramp and pier pursuant to NJDEP rules, and authorizing payment of the application from the 2019 Capital Improvement Bond Ordinance.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson, Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 12 under ordinances. Public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 8, 2020, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 13, streets, sidewalks, and sanitation of the Code of Upper Township to amend section 13.1, street excavations.
So before I open this up to see if anybody has any public comment on it, Paul, do you just want to give a summary of this particular ordinance revision?
Sure, Mayor. Sure. This is really our street opening ordinance is really for when utility companies open up the street and make utility connections to our residences. It hasn't been updated in several years, and a lot of the terminology is really antiquated to today's terminology of how we talk about road paving and the like. So it's really just updating it for terminology. It doesn't really change our function. It did allow for some, if you recall, over the last 2 years, we've been having the issues with a lot of requests for emergency openings. So we've added some procedures to kind of accommodate a special bond request and be able to do it administratively, as opposed to always having to come to a township committee for those types of things. And there would be an enhanced repair requirement that contractor would have to do.
Okay. Thank you. Does anyone in the committee have any questions or anything before I open it up to the public?
No, I'm fine, Mayor.
Okay, so if anyone in the public would like to address this proposed revision to ordinance 8, 2020, now's the time to do so. I would ask that you would unmute your line, state your name and your address, and what you would like to
10 minutes
address.
ago. It was
Committee
front
on-
page news all over.
what you would like to address the committee with respect to this ordinance only at this point.
Oh, no, thank you. No. Where's Ash? Oh, he can come up here and
So, all right, thank you. Is there any, I mean, it's a little difficult because I'm looking at a multitude of boxes here. I don't see anybody that looks like they're unmuting to address this. I want to make sure, though, that I'm not rushing through a public hearing. So if anybody does, have something to say, please say it now. Dan, are you comfortable that I let it go long enough at this point?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, since it appears that there's no public comment, I'll close the public comment portion of this particular ordinance hearing and entertain a motion for adoption.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 8, 2020, excuse me.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor. Item number 13, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 9, 2020, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 13, streets, sidewalks, and sanitation of the Code of Upper Township to grant consent and permission to Ocean Wind LLC to install electrical cable systems and conduit in Upper Township.
Paul, you want to give another summary like you did on the
Sure.
last one, please?
No problem, Mayor. This is really, it's in this kind of the same section of street openings, but it's allowing for the proposed Ocean Wind, Orsted Energy to make a connection essentially from North Shore Road down Cole Avenue onto the BLM power station so that they can make an interconnection at the Atlantic City Electric switching station there. The way our ordinance reads for the street openings, it only permits public utilities to make, sorry about that, to make those tie-ins in our street. So this ordinance is kind of acknowledging and allowing Ocean Wind to make that connection in a public street for that limited specific purpose.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody on the Township Committee have any questions before I open it up?
No, I'm fine with it, Mayor.
Okay.
No question.
So at this time, I'm going to open up to the public. And again, I'm only asking to address this ordinance revision number 9, 2020. If you would like to do that, now's the time to do so. Please unmute, state your name and your address and your discussion item related to this public ordinance hearing.
is that my, oh, I'm so happy you brought those.
I'm last call for anyone that would like to address the ordinance. Dan, are you comfortable with the time at this point?
Yes.
Yes, I've got a question.
Sure. You have to state your name, please, and your address.
It's Allison Grillo for the press of Atlantic City. I wanted to know what kind of disruption could possibly happen with the work that's involved in this project. I'm somewhat familiar with the Ocean Wind, and it seems to involve cables being under the streets and things getting dug up. I was just wondering if what's the level of, the disturbances to residents here in Upper Township?
Paul, would it be appropriate for you to explain that the limited disturbance on the township roads, but also explain what's proposed on the county and state highway?
Sure. I mean, at this point, it's just been a proposal. There's no definitive final plans for anything. So one of the proposals that they're looking at would be to bring the electrical cable, and I'm just going to call it, think of it as the extension cord that's running from the wind farm offshore to connect it to the Atlantic City Electric substation at BL England power plant, that they would, come out of Ocean City, trench along Roosevelt Boulevard. All the cables would be underground. It would go up Roosevelt Boulevard west to North Shore Road, down the shoulder of North Shore Road, north to Cole Avenue, head kind of northwest on Cole Avenue into the power station. So that at this point, but it's all preliminary, draft plans. They still have to go through a lot of public process before anything's been approved.
To be clear, this ordinance only covers the township road, which is Cole Avenue, that connects to Shore Road. So it's a very small.
It's only about 250 feet.
Right. Go ahead, Paul.
I'm sorry, it's only about 250 feet of Cole Avenue. That's the entire length of Cole Avenue. I think that's about the length.
So we're just talking about 250 feet of Cole Avenue.
Yes.
Correct.
So you don't see this as posing any kind of inconvenience to the town?
Not with respect to the township roads, no. And it shouldn't be with respect to the other roads because they're rather large thoroughfares.
You guys stay out here? Why?
Is there any other folks on the call that want to address the ordinance in the public hearing?
I was just curious. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, this is Blanche Adams. I'm representing Upper Township Business Association, and I'm at 330 Woodbine Road in Steelmantown. So just to piggyback on that question, is there something that I should take back to the business community? I know that the Roosevelt Boulevard is a county road, but it sounds like this little piece that we're doing with Upper Township would enable that to happen along Roosevelt Boulevard. So is anything I should take back to the business community, like a heads up? That, how disruptive would this be?
I don't think, from a construction standpoint, it's going to be no more disruptive than when, I think everybody remembers most recently South Jersey Gas put in, their gas main down Stagecoach Road, down Roosevelt Boulevard to Ocean City. That's the most recent, I'll say large scale utility construction. It would be similar type of an impact as you would see that. It's very short term, intermittent closures in different areas. So that's what I would see is, that would be really the overall disruption. But we're still talking about probably several years away from it at that point. And they still have to get all their approvals first.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I do know that they are hosting several virtual open houses over the next month. I don't know the dates, but if you check out Ocean Wind's website, they do have several open houses to learn more about the project as a whole.
Okay, great. I'll pass that on. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question.
Go ahead.
And could my video be presented so everybody can see my beautiful face?
That's fine.
Yep.
Camera's off.
You should be able to turn it back on.
Great.
Okay.
I was just curious about the substation. Wouldn't the Ocean Winds company, Orsted, be building some sort of substation, possibly, in Upper Township?
They would be expanding the existing substation that's at the BL England power plant. Yes.
And that's something that everybody supports and that could bring revenue to the town.
Well, no decision has been finalized by Ørsted at this point, but we're certainly cooperating with the possibility of having something there at BL England using that wind generated electricity.
Absolutely. Is there any estimate on what the town could reap in terms of
I think you're starting to get a little bit beyond the scope of the ordinance, so I would ask that you would stay, that you're asking more construction and those kind of things. We need to stay focused on the opening of the roads to allow for the cables, and that's the only part of this ordinance that we're discussing.
Oh, yes, of course. I completely understand. I think it's an exciting project. I was wondering if people wanted to comment on it.
Reported on the newspaper.
Is there anything else? No, we're focused on the public hearing for the revision of the ordinance.
Of course, of course.
Mayor, I would suggest that you ask if anyone else from the public wants to comment on the ordinance.
I think you just did, but yes, if anyone else would like to address it, please do so now. All right, it appears that there's no further public comment. So I'll close the public comment portion and entertain a motion for adoption.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 9, 2020.
Second.
Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion's carried. All in favor? Item number 14, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 11, 2020, and ordinance amending revised general ordinance, chapter 18, flood damage control of the Code of Upper Township. And if we move forward with this, the public hearing on this ordinance would be November 23rd.
Paul, you want to make it again? This is all your bellywick. So you want to give a summary on this? I know we're not, this isn't a public hearing. This is just an introduction, but the fact that we have so many folks on this call might make sense to give a summary of what we're doing here.
Sure. This is for amendments to our flood hazard ordinance to really enhance and provide some higher regulatory standards to get some additional CRS points, community rating system points, to help residents receive a lower flood insurance premiums. I'll say the major thing that we're looking at doing is requiring, if you're in a flood zone, to have a flood hazard inspection at the time of resale. So when you go to sell your house, there'll just be an inspection for that type of a process. There's also some requirements that if it's a critical facility, constructing at a certain elevation, and then also making sure that homes in the flood hazard area provide an additional elevation certificate when they do their foundation, and provide a grading plan in the beginning of the project. So it's really minor things, but mostly procedural issues that we are proposing.
Okay. Does
I'd
anyone
like to
from the
make a
committee?
motion, we introduce ordinance number 11 of 2020 with a final hearing on November 23rd.
Second.
Call the roll.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried. Item number 15, under new business, New Jersey best practices worksheet for the calendar year 2020 and state fiscal year 2021.
Barbara Ludi, this is great information. I read the report. Please give a summary.
Okay. This year we had 60 questions. 29 of those questions are scored 31 are unscored. Our score is 23 out of a possible 24.5 points, which is 94%, translates to no disruption in our aid. We will have 100% of our aid coming into us. We had two sections or two categories of questions for the scored. One was core competencies and the other are best practices. So we did quite well with our questions this year.
And these are questions that are asked from the state budgetary?
It's not just budgetary. They encompass quite a number of categories. It's procurement, it's finance, it's affordable housing. There's a number of categories that they look at for us.
Okay, and that's very good news. At 94%, that makes us eligible with no decrease whatsoever in funding, in allocation funding from the state. So
That's correct.
Barbara Young, would you like a motion for us to accept this report?
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried with all in favor to accept the report. Next, we have the payment of bills.
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated into the full minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Right, there are two reports from our municipal departments, the municipal court, tax collector certification of mailing, added assessment and omitted added assessment taxes for 2020 and final 2021 preliminary tax bills. Both of those reports will be available upon request tomorrow at the clerk's office, but I'll make a motion to accept those reports.
Second.
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo.
Yes.
Motion is carried.
So we have reached the public comment portion of the meeting. There are
here we go.
a number of folks that are on the call. I would ask that you be courteous and you allow individuals to speak. So that this is, a little difficult. There are a number of boxes to acknowledge. I think our outside counsel wants to at least counsel the Township Committee and the folks before you comment with respect to potential litigation. So would you like to again acknowledge?
Can you write, honey?
Yes,
Mr.
Mayor.
Corrado?
Thank you.
Yes.
While of course, as you correctly state, Mayor, the public should have the opportunity to say whatever it wants to say courteously and within the bounds of the parameters that the township sets on public comment. I want the council or the committee people, the committee members to understand that I believe it is not appropriate at all to make substantive statements or comments on any of the public statements involving Mr. Young, particularly since, as you heard earlier, Mr. Young has essentially indicated that he is going to engage the township in litigation with respect to this matter. So given that fact, it is not appropriate, in my opinion, for the committee members to make, you should listen courteously, of course, but it is not appropriate for you to respond or make any substantive comment in response to any statement made by the public.
Understood.
I also want to acknowledge that there may be some individuals that have other reasons to address the Township Committee during the public comment session, not related to the particular subject that was just spoken about. So in that case, we may have some ability to address whatever question they have at that point regarding anything beyond the potential litigation. So this is open to anyone. Paul, I'm going to ask that you help me identify as
I
we go
love you.
along. It's a little difficult with so many
I love you.
boxes out there. I would ask that everyone please mute your lines until you have a chance to speak, so that the person that's speaking on the other end, will have a clear opportunity to address the township committee.
Mayor, I think I see some people that have kind of turned on their video camera. It might be appropriate if you just want to take them if you see them on your screen, or if you want me to kind of call them out as I see them on the screen, and then go that way. That might be and then once we get through those people, open it up to anybody else on the that are maybe calling in or something like that, to kind of bring that through.
Well, not knowing anyone's names, I'm not sure how I can acknowledge who is going next. So you can start that, and we'll see how it works out. But I mean, I'm probably looking at different boxes than you are. So.
And Mayor, if everyone could please state your name and your address for the record, that would be appreciated also. Thank you.
Right. So there is someone on the top line, at least my top line, next to Ed Barr, that wants to address the township committee. I'm looking for some guidance here, because otherwise it's going to be hard to say who's next, because I don't really know who's next, because everybody's kind of muted.
Okay. Hi, Lindsay Switzer, 200 Bergen Avenue. And the only reason I turned my camera on is I want to make sure you guys understand that your constituents are watching. That's all. I really don't have anything to say. That was just why I turned my camera on.
Yeah, but we do ask people to keep the cameras off, because what happens is it makes everybody else's screen smaller. And there's over 117 people on the call on this meeting, so we know the public's out watching this call. So but keeping your video cameras off allows both the township committee and you as a speaker to see the people a little bit smaller, because some of the devices, they get real small and then they go off the screen. So we just do ask, if you're going to speak, turn your video camera on, unmute yourself. But if you're not going to make a public statement or a comment, please keep your video cameras and mute your microphones, please.
Question.
Mr. Mayor, my name is Steve Scherzer. I'd like to speak.
Sure. You have to give us your address, Mr. Scherzer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Young, Mr. Corrado. My name is Steve Scherzer. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Cooper Levinson in Atlantic City. That's 1125 Atlantic Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey. I represent a number of people living in Upper Township. Actually, I represent a number of women. Over the past 2 or 3 days, my clients have received a plethora of emails and posts. These emails and posts are vile, they're demeaning, they anticipate and advocate violence, and they constitute terroristic threats in violation of our laws. Terroristic threats often lead to acts of violence. And thus our leaders have mandated that these threats, this hate speech, is against our law and should be stopped immediately. We're a country of law and order, and therefore these terroristic threats, these violations of the law have got to stop immediately, and they should stop tonight. So I am here tonight to tell everyone who is responsible for sending out these vile posts and threats that I'm giving you a final warning. That if you continue to break the law, there's going to be consequences. And if you don't know what the consequences mean, let me tell you that it starts with a knock on your door where the sheriff will serve you with a complaint and a summons. And over a 2 or 3 year period, you will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees. You'll subject your family and yourself to embarrassment. And it will not end well. It will end with everything that you hold dear being in jeopardy. So if you love your job, if you love your family, If you enjoy your lifestyle, back off. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Nice threats.
Wasn't it a threat?
It is a promise. Terroristic threats are going to be met with a response.
I remind the Township Committee what Mr.
What's
Corrado
his
said.
address?
We're not to comment on anything. We're not taking sides here in any way, so.
And Mr. Mayor, when people interject when someone has the floor to speak, perhaps we could ask them to wait their turn if they want to speak to the Township Committee.
Yes. And I'd ask that people please be courteous. You may not agree with what the person is saying. You'll have your opportunity to speak as well. So, thank you. Who would like to go next?
Yes, and look, we can put a roof on.
I would ask that folks mute their lines so that the people that would like to speak are able to do so. Yes, I see you raising your hand. I'm sorry. I don't know your name, so go ahead.
My name is Janet Younghans. I live at 1957 Tuckahoe Road in Petersburg. First, before I ask my question, could you clarify how you would like us to indicate that we would like to speak? Did I do it correctly by turning on my camera?
That was actually easy for me to recognize your hand up with the video on. So maybe that's a way of doing it.
Okay, so I'll keep my video on while I'm speaking, and then when I'm finished, I'll turn it back off. But if you can just clarify to everyone, that's how I think a lot of them are confused about how to get word to you that they would like to speak.
Well,
Okay.
Some people are on only the phone, so therefore raising their hand on video won't be effective. So they'll have to interject on the phone and say, I'd like to speak, and we'll have to deal with it.
Okay. All right, so my question is this. I was out of town, but heard a lot of talk about a parade that was happening, a political parade. And it's my understanding there was at least one Confederate flag displayed, which I found to be very offensive. I wanted to know if any of the committee people were present at that parade. And could you show me by raising your hand if you were present at that parade or involved in that parade?
Curtis, you need to unmute your mic.
I am unmuted.
I was speaking to Curtis Corson.
I would parade. I did not see the Confederate flag. I do not agree with what happened, and I'm sorry that, but I did not see that parade. I did see it after the parade.
I was told by a number of friends, and like I said, I was not in town, but a number of friends told me that they found it to be very offensive. There were, a lot of people singling out particular homes and just being very hostile. And I just don't feel like that's a very good reflection on our community. I don't feel very safe knowing that there are people in my own city government who are involved in an act that could be seen as aggressive. I hope you
come in.
It was not meant to be aggressive. It was a political parade, a rally. It happens all over the country. It happened yesterday. What happened in the township?
Well, I've been dismayed from it happening all over the country, and I'm particularly dismayed that it's happening in my own hometown.
I can tell you there were people that jumped in and out of the parade. There were people that were with us when we didn't leave. There was hostilities on both sides.
So good people on both sides, is what you're saying?
Excuse me?
I've heard that term before. There were good people on both sides.
There was good people on both sides, and there was hostilities on both sides.
Okay, well, I would just want to remind the council that I can only speak for myself, but I've always been, I voted for many of you into office, and I've always been someone who just looked at my town as, hey, I appreciate the governance that we had. I appreciate our leaders. But over this past year, and probably for me in particular, started with the Second Amendment resolution that went on. I've really started to pay more attention to my city government, and I've become very politically active as a result. And I think I'm not alone. So please think very carefully before you participate in political rallies of this sort and advocate for aggression in a way that makes many of the townspeople feel uncomfortable. We are watching, we are observing, and if you see some of us becoming more involved, as I think this meeting is a perfect example, that's because we're very dismayed at what's going on in our town, and we're counting on you as town committeemen to please keep a sense of normalcy, keep a sense of sanity, and understand that we are all residents of this township, whether you agree with our political views or not. You have been elected to represent us, the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to speak next?
I
Yes.
would. I like to speak next. My name is
Okay.
Wait, Bond.
Yeah, DP. I'm sorry. You'll be acknowledged next. That's you. Yes.
I can talk?
Yeah. Are you on mute? There you go.
Muted.
Yeah.
My name is Keith Bond. I live 1001 Route 50, Petersburg, New Jersey. I've lived here since 94. My husband went into the service and served our country. I always said to him, the only way I would move back to New Jersey is to move back to Upper, because believe it or not, at one point, I really loved it here. I grew up in a military family. My father served this country for 30 years in the Army. And I always liked, I like the small town feel over here. The fact that everybody knew everyone, and I just thought it was cool. So I said, we had an opportunity to move back. My husband's now a New Jersey State Trooper. And, it was pretty good up to, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. I'm going to talk about the parade, Mr. Corson. That parade, it went past my house, okay? And you were saying there were hostile people on both sides. Well, I'm sitting in the living room with my sons watching TV. And, I've never seen a Trump parade in real life because everybody tells me how peaceful they are. And I thought, all right, well, let's look out the window. I see the parade go by. Everybody's blowing their horns and stuff. All right, no big deal. And I'm looking, and I call my husband. I'm on the phone with him, and I'm like, I think people are like giving the house the finger because we have the wrong color signs. Sorry about that. And I see the Confederate flag go by. That sucks. Okay, I gotta sit here and I gotta explain to my kids, we're 2020, and a Confederate flag goes by. And it's a town that I wanted to raise my family in because, yeah, I think we have awesome schools here. And I really do feel like this is an awesome, on top of everything else. So what are your plans? What do you plan on doing to keep stuff like this from happening so I can feel safe? So I can let my boys, feel free for them to walk around and hang out in the township like other kids and not have to worry about something happening to them. Because in case you guys haven't noticed with my name and all, yes, I am African American and I'm a female.
That's Keisha. That's fucking Keisha.
You know
what? Wow.
We cannot allow this to continue. Not you, Tisha. I'm not talking to you. Please forgive me.
I would suggest
the comments from other lines that is very disturbing to me.
To my stomach. This is what I'm talking about. This is not cool. And I pretty much stick out in this community. So you got what just happened right there.
Yeah, it's terrible. I listen, on behalf of the Township Committee, I apologize for that. There's no reason for that. But please continue. Go ahead.
I know I'm a little taken aback. I gotta, somebody else can go right now. I need to gather myself. Sorry.
Okay, I agree. Okay. Oh, that's fine. Who else would like to address the Township Committee?
Hi, this is Lindsay Switzer, 200 Bergen Avenue. I would like to address this to Mr. Corson. So given that you participated in a parade with the Confederate flag, how would you suggest I explain that to my children who were literally sitting at my feet while that parade was going by, and being told to go F themselves? Sir, I yield. Sir, you were at the parade. Like, I'm sorry, this is part of being a.
I'm not denying of it. Did not see the Confederate flag. I honestly did not see
Okay,
it.
sir, I understand that you didn't see it, but I'm asking you right now, as a parent and a constituent, you participated in that parade. What would you tell my children, the children of Upper Township, on how to interpret that? I did see it. Sir, what should I tell them that their elected officials feel about this?
Well, you can tell them, I personally, I don't fly the Confederate flag.
You don't?
I fly the American flag in my yard. I'm an American.
I'm sure that offends them too.
I don't agree.
Sir.
I don't agree with what happened. I'm sorry it happened. I'm not responsible for what happened, and I don't know how you explain it to your children.
Okay, I have a follow-up question. Had you seen the Confederate flag, would you still participate in the parade?
I would have probably asked them to take it down if I had seen it.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Okay,
The
thank you.
parade was organized as a rally. It was not meant to cause fear, anxiety, or hostility.
I'm sorry, sir. That's absolutely untrue.
Well, I don't want to get, back before I wasn't in the parade, wasn't anywhere near, but that I do think that Mr. Corson, said that at this point, that he wouldn't have taken part in the parade had he known it was in there. So listen, it's not appropriate to fly the Confederate flag anywhere, any place. We know what the symbol,
That's
what it
what I needed
means.
to hear.
Okay.
That's what I needed to hear.
Okay, I agree with you.
I agree with that too.
And I would like to ask our elected officials, next time they see a Confederate flag in this township, please speak out against it. That's not what this town's about.
I agree.
Thank you.
Now, Tisha, we'll go one more time, but I'm going to try and see if there's other folks that want to speak, but you're welcome to continue because you were interrupted. Please do so.
All right. I just want to finish this by saying, because where do we go from here? Like, I feel like the school has done their part. They've stepped, they've been from an on as far as education. So what's on the agenda in the future for you guys? I mean, because you have to change. Like I said, people, and I get this too. I wasn't here, wasn't raised here. Well, can't be born in Upper because I'm not a hospital. Start with that. As far as being raised here, well, I mean, there's a lot of people who move here. So, you want change in your community, then you're a part of it. And, I just, what do you guys plan on doing? I mean,
Tisha, if it makes you feel better, I try to create some sort of letter to address the folks based on, some of the issues that had occurred over last week. I would certainly, as mayor, be willing to say that it's totally inappropriate to ever fly or put out a Confederate flag in this township. I have no problem doing that personally.
I think like there's a lot of social media back and forth, and there needs to be some type of town forum, because what I'm finding, and I even because I'm sure my social media was checked too and all, when people say things, I ask them, please feel free, let's get together, let's have coffee, let's talk about this, because anybody can say or do whatever they want on social media, because there's a lot of people that got a lot of stuff to say on social media. we're all grown-ups here, and I don't understand, we need to be setting examples for our kids, because you guys may not realize this, but how the adults are acting, the kids are showing out too. So how can I, let my kids participate in sports and walk around Upper Township like all the other kids, when I can't even sit and talk to you guys, in this type of form without somebody, as you heard, saying what they said, which was absolutely disgusting. And look, I'm no saint myself, but this is supposed to be, a professional, I don't know, I'm taken aback by the whole thing. It's just unbelievable, because it's the same behaviors that people would constantly accuse Black people, how Black people act or whatever, and then somebody turns around and they say what they say on this, and it's disgusting. So where do we go from here? This is something's got to change.
I think that, again, I'll be willing to make a public, statement about the flying of that particular Confederate flag. I would also be willing to, look at, feasibility. Honestly, the Township Committee cannot control social media. That's just.
No, I understand.
We can make suggestions to be courteous to people. We can make suggestions, to follow some sort of code of ethics or whatever. But it would be very difficult for us to, in any way, limit anybody's, Facebook or social, media posting. That's just very difficult. But we can start from the beginning and certainly be the ones that are outspoken about anybody that does something that could be potentially racially motivated, or however anybody looks at symbols or flags or whatever it is. All of it's inappropriate. And, we can start at the Township Committee level, and I know the school's working on it, and we'll continue to do what we can from our side.
Have you guys thought about talking with the school and getting together with the school and doing something together? Because the fact we are a small town, and the school has been doing phenomenal, just in everything they did, working together, because you guys are, our local government, just across the board, even explaining to the kids how, local government works, and, and just getting completely involved, where, we see you guys a lot. I know. I'm really angry about what just happened a few minutes ago. So sorry if I'm all over the place. I'm just.
If I may interject, I would suggest that anyone that feels threatened should contact the authorities. If they feel like they're being harassed, they should contact the state police, and particularly if there's any fear involved. That's something that I know the Township Committee will support. I would suggest that if this is happening, maybe our administrator could reach out to the state police and tell them that perhaps this is becoming a problem, and they should be aware of it, particularly if someone calls it and files a complaint or explains what's happening. Because harassment and terroristic threats, things like that, have no place in any community.
Okay.
All right. I apologize. If I can't even point to you. Paul, can you acknowledge the next person that's on the screen, please?
Well, I do want to have the person, Ms. Palomino. I'm sorry, she's been on a couple of times, and so I've seen her pop in and out. So if she could go ahead and unmute herself and go ahead and have the floor, then Andrea Smith will be afterwards.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to say I'm new to this township. I heard it's a really great place to raise your kids. I live in Beasley's Point, where the parade started. And I am so sad that my 8-year-old son had to.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can you please state your name?
Yes, my name is Denai Palomino. I live on Point Pleasant Avenue in Beasley's Point. My son and I went to Route 9 to express and to wave very cheerfully So Curtis Corson, when you were saying that there was disgusting and lewd acts on both sides, I only saw a group of women lined up with a couple of children, waving, holding up our Biden signs, and all we got back was middle finger waving and Confederate flag
Just waving.
waving, okay? So I actually don't accept Curtis Corson's apology. I don't think it was okay for the township, for two committeemen to be part of that rally, and I'm very upset. So I don't think that what Curtis Corson said about it being on both sides was any way okay. I was there, my 8-year-old son was there. My 8-year-old son knows about history, he knows about math, he knows, he goes to Upper Township School District. He's got a lot of good knowledge. He does not know what the Confederate flag is. And there is no way that I should be explaining to him what that is. Thank you for
Yes, that's
listening.
history. Thank you. Who's next?
I'm not saying anything else.
Andrea Smith.
Okay. Andrea?
Her screen's froze.
Right.
I'd like to speak, Mayor, if there's a chance.
Okay. Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Jocelyn Payne, and I live in Beasley's Point, corner of Route 9. And I just feel compelled to go on record. I wasn't prepared to speak at this meeting, but you do see all the little boxes of everyone watching tonight, so I just felt like I wanted to put my name to say why I was here. I don't think I could say it better than Ms. Youngins, Ms. Bonds, Ms. Switzer, and Ms. Palomino. I just want to go on record saying that I agree with everything they've said. I live in Beasley's Point, and the parade was a little upsetting. I did want to address Mr. Corson because as I understand, you said that you weren't aware of the Confederate flag. I did notice that you posted a video of the parade today on your Corson for Upper Township Facebook page. I didn't watch the full video. I'm just wondering if that Confederate flag is in the video. If it is, would you commit to taking that video down?
Just a matter to take the video down.
Oh, stop it. I wish you could hear me.
Please, we have to mute the people that are being.
That's Michelle how to turn. I'm on it too, but I can't get the sound on.
I'm trying, Mayor. As I see him, I'm trying to grab him.
How to get the sound on?
Chris, you're speaking at this point, but we still had somebody else who was talking. I don't know if.
Yeah. If the Confederate flag is in a parade or picture, I will take it down, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Andrea Smith has been on there waiting the longest. I don't know if she can unmute herself and start.
Oh, scary. I think my thing is like.
She's just
Is
not
there
coming
anyone
through.
else I apologize. We've just never had this volume of folks. So we're trying to do the best we can. Please bear with it. I will allow plenty of flexibility for people to speak.
It appears Andrea Smith can speak now. So could you announce yourself and state your address?
Okay.
No.
Hi, anyone there?
Me, okay. Andrea Smith, and I live in Seville. I would like to address the entire committee. I would like to call on each member of the committee to publicly denounce the racist, misogynistic posts of the committee member who just resigned, to condemn the display of the Confederate flag in our township, and to condemn publicly all of the threats and intimidation that have been going on social media in support of Mr. Young. This isn't, I just want to say, this is not a political matter. It's not Republican or Democrat or any other affiliation. And calling for his resignation had no political motive. It was a consequence for his actions. This is a matter that has drawn disgust of people who expect a display of common decency.
Did her, right? Did we have?
Her screen just keeps freezing up. I think she just has a poor connection.
Yeah, there's a poor connection there, Paul. I could just about understand what.
So,
I don't know if you want to go to Lenora. I think she's next.
but wait a second. I
Yeah,
think,
can't get the sound.
yeah, I mean, I'm going to call Mr. Corrado because some of the issues that were brought up may have interference in this potential litigation. So before
They don't need to hear me.
We don't want to jeopardize that. So, I mean, I'm very comfortable condemning the Confederate flag and, you know, any inappropriate things that are posted, but I don't want to in any way jeopardize, you know, our position from a legal standpoint. So, Mr. Corrado, can you?
You took the words out of my mouth, Mr. Mayor. You took the words out of my mouth. There's no, I don't have any problem with a general denunciation of racism or misogyny or threats or intimidation. But I will say again, it is wholly inappropriate for any committee member at this point in these circumstances to make any statement regarding Mr. Young.
Okay. Okay, with that said, you know, you at least got my acknowledgement about the Confederate flag. So, and posting inappropriate things that are posted, not specific to anyone, just generally, anytime, any place, anywhere. So, who would like to go next?
Mayor, I agree with you 100%. The behavior over the past couple of weeks, I believe on on social network is unacceptable. And unfortunately, in today's day and age, when we hold a parade or we have such an event, you can't control everybody's behavior, but it's a shame that people still hold prejudice. They need to, how can I say, show their colors in today's day and age. We know that type of behavior is unacceptable, and it saddens me. And to be honest with you, I'm very disappointed that there are other citizens within our community that, unfortunately, they have different views. They can express their views, but the community that we have, the tight-knit community that we have, has been separated, and it's going to take some time to mend a lot of these feelings.
Okay. I know some people are acknowledging they'd like to speak, but have already spoken. I really would like to try and get at least an opportunity for other folks to speak. It's not, if they don't, then we'll go back. Anyone else, please? You know, I'm asking for a little help here and trying to acknowledge people.
Mayor, you have Lenora.
Just jumping in here briefly, Mayor. I also would like to denounce any type of racism, threats, intimidation that are occurring in the township. It's not right. It's not what we're all about. And I'm fully in agreement with that.
I also echo my colleagues' thoughts, sir. I mean, it's not the Upper Township we all grew up in and grew to love. Racism not be tolerated in Upper Township. Terroristic threats and things of that nature should not be tolerated either.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, this is David Cummings. Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is David Cummings. I live at 1808 South Commonwealth Avenue in Strathmere. And I guess I had a question for you specifically and the group of elected officials tonight. Is there a township code of ethics and a code of conduct that exists for Upper Township?
Yes, we have a civil rights code and a code of conduct. We do.
Where would some of us as citizens find that? Is that posted on?
It's in the, we adopt a civil rights resolution. That clerk could get you a copy of it if you contact the clerk's office.
It is posted on the website as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think you're hearing tonight from a lot of residents in the township that they're very concerned about code of conduct and ethics of our township officials. And you all need to make sure as leaders that you walk the talk, right? You support fair and ethical treatment of everybody. And we're hearing a lot of concerns, both with this parade as well as with the Hobie Young incident. So my comments is just, you need to make sure that you listen to your constituents, but also you as leaders need to affect change. You just can't wring your hands and say you're sorry about this, but you need to walk the talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I believe Lenore's been sitting here.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hi, Mayor Palumbo, Deputy Mayor Barr, and committee. I'm Lenore Bonafonte Koditac, a resident of the Seville section of Upper Township for more than 24 years and a resident of the County of Cape May for 38 years. I have known the mayor, Mr. Barr, and many of you for many years. And in fact, I've interviewed the mayor's father when he was mayor of North Wildwood some 30 years ago. As you know, Mayor, I am fair and just. I respect the office and the individual over the party. I am very saddened and disheartened by the actions that have taken place in our township over the past few weeks. I have always respected our leaders here. There are a few now who do not deserve that respect. In the past few weeks, some of our elected officials and their supporters have done some really bad things that have gone beyond electioneering. They have elevated to threats, intimidation, and acts of hatred. In the name of decency and respect alone, the meme that was originally shared should never have been shared by anyone, let alone an elected official. And the argument that it was on a personal page does not hold weight. You know, Mayor, you are always the mayor. You are never not the mayor. I think the actions tonight on this meeting itself showed the true colors of some individuals. And I call on you, Mayor. I'm very happy to see that you've already taken the lead, and that's what you need to do. You, Deputy Mayor Barr, I call on you to take the lead and show by example and condemn the behavior such as the flying of the Confederate flag, the intimidation and threats to women who have spoken out. This should never happen, and especially in Upper Township and Cape May County. And denounce the behavior of elected officials and other people that really hurt our community. We need to stop fostering hate. And I call on you, Mayor, as you took the lead tonight and saying that you denounce these actions, perhaps the two that you are willing to go on record that legal counsel allows you to go take the forefront on. Perhaps tonight you pass an ordinance or a resolution
showing that you will not stand for this in Upper Township, that Upper Township Committee does not stand for Confederate flags and hatred. Perhaps council can draft some type of resolution.
I
Thank
certainly, I thank you for those comments, and I would certainly be willing, to make a motion to, as such. Dan, maybe you can frame it a little bit better, but I would say that, I'd
Some of the
motion.
comments are directed at Mr. Young, and I'm going to defer to Mr. Corrado to address what you should and should not do at this point.
Okay.
Well, I don't have any problem if the township is willing to adopt some sort of a resolution that condemns hate and intimidation and bias and misogyny. I think that I would counsel the committee, excuse me, I keep saying counsel. I would counsel the committee to take a little time in drafting the resolution. I don't think it's something that you should do on the spur of the moment, even though all of you have expressed your opposition to this kind of behavior. If you are going to formalize that opposition in a resolution, my suggestion, and of course, your township council attorney can advise you on this as well.
Concerning the fact that he was listening to these people who are now being bashed on city council and whatnot.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
No, go ahead.
I was saying that resolution should be drafted with some care, I think, and not done on the spur of the moment. Once again, I will say that to the extent the actions of Mr. Young are being talked about or discussed tonight, I don't think that it is appropriate, and I strongly recommend against any committee member indicating one way or another how they feel about that. Simply because you are at this point facing the possibility of litigation, and anything that you say in this public forum could be used in that litigation. And so I don't think that it's appropriate for you to discuss that particular issue. Once again, to the extent the council wants to speak, or the committee wants to speak out generally against this kind of odious behavior, in a carefully crafted resolution, I think that's something that committee can certainly consider. But insofar as the issue involving Mr. Young is concerned, that is not a topic for discussion, an appropriate topic for discussion.
Okay, so what I will say is that the township committee will work with Mr. Young and have this as a potential agenda item at the next meeting.
Let's clarify your work. The solicitor, Dan, is not related.
That was perfect.
Yes.
That was
Sorry.
perfect.
I'm sorry. Dan Young, our municipal attorney, will work with us in drafting language for that resolution. But in the meantime, we'll follow the advice of counsel this evening, outside counsel, Mr. Corrado, until the next meeting occurs, which is, by the way, November 9th, for those on the call. So, Paul.
Mayor, looks like you have Jennifer Battersby.
Here we go. Here we go.
Jennifer, you gotta unmute yourself first. There you go.
I'm here. Hi.
Okay, we can hear you.
Comment?
We need that, Jennifer. We need your name and your address for the record.
620 South Line. I didn't know I signed myself up to speak. I'm here to listen. I'm in support. I think that there's a lot of just political divide right now, and I think we should all take a step back and we're here for the community, I hope. I don't see racism. Obviously, I know it exists, but I don't see it. I'm not a part of it. I don't teach it with my kids. I didn't know I was signed up to talk. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Paul, I think there's a gentleman on.
Yep, you got Frank Sanino, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Frank Sanino. I live at 849 Route 50 in Petersburg. Are you still able to see me right now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say I took part in the parade, and I was down there at the staging area. Everybody was happy. Everybody was having a good time. There were no comments made, no derogatory comments. There were no Confederate flags down there. There was even a Biden supporter down there on his motorcycle, waving his flags, his Biden flags. The only comments that were made to that guy were people walked up to him, were telling him how nice his bike was. I know one person even asked him to be in the parade with us. While on the parade, throughout the parade route, when we pulled out there at the Tuckahoe Inn, going through Beasley's Point, there were people out there with Biden flags, giving us the middle finger all the way down Route 9. I have it on video. I have pictures of all these Biden supporters giving us the finger, but then crying to the Township Committee how it happened to them. We had carloads of people in that parade that had little kids in there, 4 or 5 kids in some of those vehicles, and they're getting the middle finger shoved at them while we're traveling down Route 9. My brother was in a truck in front of me, and several times Biden supporters with their flags cut right out in the road and cut him off. You know, none of us in that parade were doing anything like that. And as far as if there was, I know that there was a video that someone in the parade did have a Confederate flag. If you don't like the flag, look away. Not everybody that has a Confederate flag is a racist. Okay, there's some people that fly a Confederate flag just because they're proud of Southern heritage, even though they live up here. Maybe their family's from down south. Just because you have a Confederate flag does not mean that you're a racist. You know, I just think, you know, if you want to live in a country where there's free speech, you're bound to get offended by something. But just because you're offended doesn't make doesn't make you right. You know, I get offended by things every day. I guess I just was brought up that, you know, turn the channel. If I don't like what's being said, turn the channel. You don't like if somebody's flying a flag in their yard, don't look at it. They don't have to take it down. Just don't look at it. But I was pretty upset during that parade, and it was a friendly parade. No one around me, no one was saying anything to the Biden supporter that was in the parade. And, you know, I myself, I got the middle finger from people, no less than 5 or 6 people throughout that parade route. You know, people screaming derogatory comments, profanities at me because I'm standing there sticking up for, you know, Kurt Corson, President Trump. You know, and I just I feel that there were things on both sides maybe that weren't right, but for all these liberals to come out, all these Democrats come out of woodwork and act like they're the victim here is ridiculous. That's
Amen,
all
Frankie. Amen.
Well, please, no comments from anyone. You know, that again, we're trying to be courteous. Everybody has their fair share to say. You know, I have to disagree with you, Frank, to say that for whatever reason, the flag does symbolize some very difficult times that people go through. And, you know, I realize that there's a First Amendment, you have freedom of speech, but, you know, that particular symbol hurts a lot of people. And so, you know, I think there's not a two-way street on this particular one. And you don't have to go any further than Nikki Haley, who was a great governor in South Carolina, who was appointed to United Nations as our ambassador, who was the one that spearheaded taking down that flag that flew over the South Carolina Capitol building for many, many years. So, you know, I think it's time to move on from those things. Unfortunately, it's a symbol that a lot of folks look at as hate. So we really need to think about that one.
I understand that, Mayor.
Thank you for your comments. I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to stop anybody from whatever comments they want to say. I would like to have an open discussion here if it's possible.
May I respond to that?
Sure.
I do understand your point of view, and I understand as the mayor, you know, you have to take everybody's feelings into consideration. But I mean, the flag symbolizes states protesting the federal government involvement. And like I said, some people that the flag, I know a lot of people that have those flags, and they're not racist people at all. You know, I mean, I understand some people it strikes a chord, but that doesn't mean that the people flying it are trying to offend anyone, you know? That's all.
You are deeply offending me.
All right.
You are
No,
Well, I'm really
hold on.
sorry, Keisha. I'm not
This is
trying to offend you.
We're not going to get in. We're not.
I'm
Listen,
sorry, we're going to have to move.
folks.
Anyone
We're
not
not going to get into a battle here. Everyone's entitled to their opportunity to address the township committee.
Let him know that I did not speak. So Frank needs to realize that that was not me who said something. Frank
Okay.
said something.
Excuse me?
He automatically assumed it was me.
I didn't automatically assume
I can't
anything.
even figure out who's talking.
So Frank, if you and I need to sit down and have a conversation about this and how offended I am as a black woman, not as a liberal or as a Democrat, as a black woman, feel free. We live right down the street from one another. We can have a conversation because I'm over this mess right now.
All right.
I don't need to have a conversation with you. I wasn't trying to offend you.
I'm sorry,
Please. We are not going to, I ask that we be courteous. I realize this is very emotional. I realize that there are two sides. There may be two sides. I'm not sure that there are, but please, everyone
Mayor,
has had
there's
an
no two
opportunity.
sides to racism, if I may.
This can't be a dialogue with numerous people. We have to have order in the public comment. The only person that should comment from the public is the member of the public that has been recognized by the mayor. After that, anyone else wanting to comment should be able to. But we have to do this in an organized way so everybody gets to be heard properly.
All I was stating, and I don't think I said anything that was wrong, was that I know that flying that flag strikes a chord with some people. I understand that it may be hurtful to some people or offend some people. What I was saying was not everybody that flies a Confederate flag has the intentions of offending someone.
The flag
That's all
itself
I was
offends a
stating.
lot of people.
Can I say something?
But,
Can I say
okay,
something real
who's next? Please, we're going to move on. More comments. from
Thank you
folks.
for your time. I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, Mayor, and to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would suggest that anyone that hasn't spoken yet should be allowed to speak.
You have Linda Bateman, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Good evening, Linda Bateman, 14 East Tecumseh, Strathmere. I'm an Upper Township property owner, and I have a question. I don't know for which attorney, but maybe both of you. There's a new Facebook page, We Stand with Hobie Young, that has 400 followers, and good for them. However, my question is, their picture is not a picture of Mr. Young. It's a picture of the Upper Township welcome sign. To me, as an Upper Township taxpayer property owner, it lends a little bit of endorsement to this situation. I know that a little bit about the law, but I'm wondering if this is something that this group should not be using to represent their group.
Due to the conflict, I'll defer to Mr. Corrado.
I'm not familiar with the sign, but if it's township, it's the public welcome sign in Upper Township. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, it's the one that, I don't know which sign it is, but the one when you get off of exit 25, it says Upper Township welcomes you.
I know of no law that prevents somebody from taking a picture of that sign and posting it.
And using it as their profile page cover.
While I don't particularly like the idea of it, I don't see that it can be forbidden.
Okay, thank you. It's very distressing. And I'm sad to hear what everyone has said about our community, and I support any effort that we might be able to take to get past all of this. It just can't go on. And thank you.
Anyone else, Paul, that you see?
Can I address the committee, please?
Yeah. Erica Kelly just came on.
Who just spoke
I-
out?
That was me. Tammy Kelly,
Okay,
can I
please.
speak?
So
Thank
we
you.
need your name and we need your address.
Sure. Tammy Kelly, 4 Lake Corson Lane. I'm a longtime resident of Upper Township and am a mother of 3 children. As someone who was raised in Upper, I am very familiar with the politics of this area. And in the past, I've understood that many people around me have different views that are different from my own, and that has been okay. I believe that our differences make us stronger as a community if we respect each other and our beliefs and work towards common goals. However, after recent events, I have witnessed acts of bullying and harassment from and towards members of our community, including threats of violence, and I am fully disgusted by what I have observed. Last Sunday, my husband and I went for a neighborhood bike ride with our children. We were horrified when we encountered a rowdy motorcade complete with a Confederate flag in our otherwise very quiet and peaceful neighborhood. And we are in Beasley's Point, and we are not far from where they met. So I have a hard time believing anybody did not see that Confederate flag because it was quite large. My 5 and 9-year-olds were witness to grown adults shouting expletives and making inappropriate gestures, so much so that my daughter sensed their rage and hatred and actually asked me if they would shoot us. Think about that for a minute. This is not what America stands for. This behavior is not making America great or kind, or for that matter, decent or democratic. I will not tolerate such racist and obnoxious behavior in my neighborhood and in front of my children who are trying desperately to find basic civility in the world around them. My husband and I chose to raise our 3 children in Upper Township specifically because it is a great place for families. Every day we instill in our children the importance for respect and kindness to others. These basic values should be undoubtedly bipartisan. Unfortunately, the current political climate has become increasingly divisive, and many in leadership roles, both locally and nationally, are fueling this hatred and division rather than bringing people together. Having different political beliefs is okay. However, bullying, spewing hatred, and threatening violence should not be tolerated in person or online. And flying symbols of racism throughout our community is unacceptable. I am asking my local government to not only condemn this behavior, but also call out those that try to divide us. We all have the right to feel safe in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul?
You have Erica Kelly.
Okay.
I'm trying to. Whoop.
Erica, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank
please
you.
state your, I know it's Erica Kelly, but please state your address, please, for the record.
You muted yourself, Erica, again.
Mm.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having this public comment portion.
We need your address.
Erica Kelly, I'm at 83. Well, actually, it's funny that you say this because my husband doesn't want me to put my address on the record because of the hate that has been spewed. But I live on Tyler Road in the township. My comments today, I want to address the suggestion that the Hobie Young postings were an isolated incident in an otherwise, quote, unblemished career. And I want to read a statement, and this is, quote, "It appears that someone took offense to my comments concerning the elementary yearbook. Let me make it perfectly clear that any and all posts I make are my personal opinions, not those of the Township of Upper.
It amazes me that some feel that once elected people lose their rights to speak freely, but they retain the rights to say anything they want. That apology was dated in June of 2019. And I would ask for you all to walk with me back to the halcyon days of the spring of 2019, to the event that I believe we now refer to as Puggate. At that time, a cartoon pug dog was posted inadvertently in an elementary school yearbook holding a sign that said Pugs Against Trump. At that time, Mr. Young essentially incited a riot. He basically garnered a mob, very similar to what we're seeing now. He was mortally offended by a cartoon pug. Ironically, you can't see why anyone would be offended today about the misogynistic images that he posted. At that time, in 2019, Mr. Young viciously called for the resignations of our Board of Ed president and the teachers these poor teachers who had the misfortune of serving as yearbook advisors. The school district was actually threatened by the mob that we would need police protection at that Board of Ed meeting. Mr. Young's language at that time was inflammatory, and it was absolutely inappropriate, to the extent that he had to apologize for those actions, as I just referenced. This is in addition to numerous inappropriate, offensive, vile posts, public posts for years. Content full of religious insults, racial slurs, there's homophobia, we can dabble that in. And that is the root of why we were here today. That is the root of why we are here today. Not a one-time mistake, not a whoops slip, and you shared a post. This is a course of conduct that is not only unbecoming of a public official, it is a disqualifying factor. That, make no mistake, is why we are here today. That disqualifying conduct. You all are elected officials, and you must serve all your constituents. That is Republican, that is Democrat, that is female, that is male, that is despite religious affiliation, all of your constituents, no matter what your affiliation is. This, contrary to the postings on the I Stand With Hobie page, is not a political witch hunt. This was not the Democrats are trying to get Ammenhauser elected. This was done because we are here today because of Hobie Young's own posts, not a Democratic witch hunt. And I will say this, my husband is a Republican, and this whole event has disturbed him so much about the red column that he's actually rethinking his votes. As I said, heretofore, Mr. Young's conduct was tolerated, and I am gratified that this committee finally saw fit to not tolerate it any longer. We shouldn't be standing with Hobie, Upper, and no, we are not leaving your township. And you know exactly who I'm referring to. This isn't a we stand with Hobie. This is we should stand with civility and decency and accountability and responsibility and respectfully. That is what our Upper should be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to address the Township Committee?
Can I talk? I'd like to speak, but I can't get video.
All right, Paul, any help there?
She's a caller on the phone, so she can't. So,
If she would just announce who she is and state where she lives.
Hi, my name is Carolyn O'Brien. I live on Caledonia Drive in Seaville.
Okay.
I'd
Go
like
ahead.
to begin to say that the intent to destroy or ruin anyone's lives that are a part of this whole mess was not intended. There was no intent with this Hobie page for Hobie to hurt anyone. The pages that I've seen through the Cape May County Democratic website had multiple statements, and all of it referenced, did you get it done yet? Contact this person and that media and so on and so forth. And this was all done because someone took a copy of the meme that Hobie put on his private Facebook page and distributed it through the Cape May County Democratic Society. And, you can't tell me that this wasn't done in a political way in order for someone to gain votes. It's well known that, Hobie's obviously given decades and decades of service to this community, yet for political gain, in my opinion, from what I've seen and I've read from other people's pages on the Cape May County Democratic site, that one meme or two memes, I don't care if it was 15 memes that were taken off his personal Facebook, even comes close to being compared to losing his position as committeeman and anything else that comes with that. He was voted in, and he should stay until his next term, which is over in, I think, a year. Allow the voters the opportunity to vote him in or vote him out the next time round. Just because you had a bunch of people contact you that had obviously an agenda doesn't mean that it should have been taking him off and asking him for his resignation right away without understanding everything that was going on behind this. There was an awful lot found out in the last week or two, and none of it is nice. It's just not fair for someone who has given dedicated service beyond being a committeeman to this township to be taken lightly. And nobody's even discussing that. And I think that that's an important thing to discuss. You can't compare his dedicated decades of service to this meme that he had on his personal page that someone else took off of there and then reposted it on the Democratic page. And it just boggles my mind, because none of this would have occurred. Anybody else who didn't like that meme, like any other adult, would have just scrolled past it. But no, it had to turn into this farce. And it didn't get that way other than somebody going along and taking that meme and broadcasting it throughout social media. Some of the statements on that page were, well, you stepped down without question. Oh, thank you very much. I agree with this. Did you get it? Did you contact the news agencies? What medias did you contact? And it's all over the Democratic page, so nobody can tell that wasn't political. Nobody. And I have pictures of who put those on there. Who was pressing charges? This is a felony. This is, I'm not going to say the names. So I checked with our county prosecutor, and this falls under freedom of speech. However, I'm still working on the ethics board. And it goes on and on and on. Nobody knows this. Did anybody bother to take the time to check what was really going on behind the scenes? You know, and as far as the Trump parade is concerned, you know, it was done in good faith. What particular individuals may or may not have done has nothing to do with the parade itself. You cannot be responsible for people and their individual choices as to what they do in a parade in an outdoor setting. You can't. These parades have been held all over the United States. You know, you want to talk about parades. You know what? There's been riots with people with signs and you know, burning the flag and all kinds of things. And that's very destructive. And that bothers me. But you know what? If I don't want to watch it anymore, I turn the channel. But all of that from the Democrats, nobody condoned that. No. You know, the Democrats didn't turn around and say, well, we don't disagree with that. Go to Antifa.com. You see who the donations go to. It goes to Biden-Harris. So you know what? There's a lot of ruthless things going on here behind the scenes that need to be looked into by the entire committee. This is just not fair.
Okay, thank you. We can't comment because of.
I understand.
Margaret.
Can I speak? I'm not on video, but I'm on the phone.
Go ahead, state your name and your address, please.
Donna Mason, 545 Route 49 in Tuckahoe. I just want to say that maybe this has snowballed to where it shouldn't have went, but I have to agree with the last caller. I've seen stuff, and I do feel that this was a personal attack on Hobie. Hobie has been a staple of Upper Township I've been here all my life. He's been very instrumental with the youth in our township, which is a big thing that is needed in Upper Township. And I just feel like if somebody saw that and was so offended, all they had to do was scroll by or send a personal message to Hobie and request him to take it down. Instead, it was turned into a personal attack. And I'm very disappointed that the Township Committee did not look into it further. And instead of trying to force, you may not force yourself, but other people forcing Hobie to resign. I think that's horrible. Nothing is being said about what good he's done in the township. And yes, I do feel like it was a personal attack on him. And if you saw the stuff and you did the investigation, you would feel the same way. And I love Upper Township. I don't see where people think it's not safe, because it is a very safe place to live and it's a good place to live. But I don't feel that Hobie is getting the credit he deserves or the opportunity to finish out his term. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Who else, Paul?
You have Rhiannon Greck.
Hi, my name is Ryan Greck. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name is Ryan Greck. I was born and raised on Tyler Road in Upper Township. I don't live in the township any longer, but spent the first 18 years of my life here. And here I still have family and friends.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you give us your current address so that we have it for the record?
I live in Mays Landing currently.
Well, that's fine. Just give us that address, please.
I prefer not to give my home address, but I live in Mays Landing. And
Dan?
It's fine. That's fine.
Okay, thanks. And I have been horrified by what's been going on in Upper Township over the last week or so. I've been very ashamed of my hometown, and it's painful to say that. I had a good experience growing up in Upper and going through the public school system there. And I think, contrary to some of the comments that have been made tonight, when it comes to racism and misogyny, these issues are not partisan. There are not two opposing viewpoints. They're not two valid sides. Racism and misogyny are wrong. I mean, it's as simple as that. And to imply that there's only one way that a woman of color can come to power is wrong. And for an elected official to promote the ideas of racism and misogyny is wrong. It's just, this is not a freedom of speech issue. This is not a two opposing viewpoints issue. They're just wrong. And I hope that this committee will come out in the strongest means available to you to disavow and condemn racism and misogyny. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else, Paul?
I don't see anything else. I mean, you have some repeat people that want to speak, I think, but nobody, I don't have any new people coming on.
All right, so we acknowledge, we'll go one more time around for a few folks that want to, say some last words. I would just ask that we're not,
Mayor?
I mean, don't repeat things that we've said. Go ahead.
Mayor, I'm sorry. My name's Carl Mason. My wife here is Nikki Mason. We live at 21 Foxborough in Seaville. First, I'd like to say thank you to the committee for allowing the public comment. We do appreciate it. My wife was born and raised here. Her father was a former mayor of the township. We moved back with our family about 10 years ago because this is where we wanted to raise our children. The schools are excellent. We have nothing but good things to say about the schools. I'd also like to say I appreciate all the women who have spoken up today. I think it takes a lot of strength. I think the hatred of those that participated in that parade, not everybody, I understand not everybody, but in our current political climate, participating in a parade like that, I think you're blessing those kinds of actions and that kind of message. Needless to say, if a Confederate flag is displayed, that is contrary to what some people might think. That's a bright flashing neon sign of I'm a complete racist. For two of our elected officials to participate, to bless that, and to still continue to this day, right now, celebrate it on their election site, and for that individual to sit here and ask for their constituents' votes this week, I think is a joke. Hobie resigned, whether or not he had second thoughts. He certainly did the right thing, the honorable thing. Certainly can't say he's honorable now, but some other people might want to take those notes and also throw in the towel. And to the privilege of the citizens, residents of Upper Township who don't see racism and who think everything's just fine, that is the definition of white privilege. That's what it is. And if you don't recognize that, if you don't have enough empathy to view the world, the current climate in this country through that prism, that's a fault of your own. That's nobody else's fault. There is hatred. It is blessed by the very top levels of this government. It is disheartening, embarrassing, and for members of this committee to use the keep Upper Township or make Upper Township great, that is a dog whistle. That is a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That all in for Trump, and it's shameful. I don't understand how people would say that they don't see the Confederate flag as racist. That makes, I mean, again, I suppose I should try and look at it through their prism a little bit, but it just makes no sense. The Civil War was fought. It was decided. The South lost. Take your L and move on. For an American citizen to fly a Confederate flag, you're celebrating a traitor, a traitorous group of individuals who lost 170 years ago, and they deserve to lose because they were fighting for the most immoral, unethical, and inhumane policy that has ever been devised: slavery. And again, like I said, for our elected officials to condone it is embarrassing. And I would like to say also, Mayor Palumbo, I've never met you, but I think you've done an outstanding job tonight, and I appreciate you. And I'd like to hand it off to my wife in case she has anything to say.
Thank you for having us. And I did just kind of want to piggyback on a little bit because,
I'm not sure if anybody can see my video. I am not white. I am Korean American, and I have lived in Upper Township most of my life. And I've been called a chink in Upper Township. My kids have been called chink in Upper Township. So again, it's for a white person to live here and say that there's no racism. You're wrong. I fortunately don't have Facebook because I don't think I'd be able to handle that right now. And if it makes a difference, because this has gotten very political instead of being about social justice and what's right for human beings, I am a Republican. I am not necessarily proud to be one. I'm not necessarily proud to be a member of this township right now. So I'm hoping that things can turn around and
move away.
I'm sorry?
Please don't have a discussion during the public comment. Just make the public comment. And Paul, please mute anyone that interrupts.
I've been trying.
Hey, caller 42, if you have something to say, I gave my address.
Relax, please. Let's not, we're trying not to have personal, I don't want to exacerbate the problem. We're trying to address the problem. So, I can't stress enough. This is I'm trying to allow a lot of latitude here for folks to express their concerns. And I will not tolerate people being rude to one another. So please, state as we go along, let people voice their opinion. I'm trying to allow everyone to say, what's on their mind.
Anything else?
That's all. I just hope that, like the school district in Upper Township has been, working very hard to ensure that the racism and the hateful comments are, removed, and zero tolerance policy in the school system. But it's difficult when the parents don't attend school. So, hopefully the township can start moving in the direction where it was moving decades ago. It seems going backwards. And that's all. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You have a repeat person if you want to, Mayor, but otherwise I think.
I have something to say. Question.
You have Allison from the press has a question for you, Mayor. They haven't spoken yet.
Yes, could I have my video? Thank you. Well, it's a nice opportunity for me to visit the Upper Township. Honestly, I came here to hear about economic development in the township, especially Ocean Wind. But nonetheless, I'm very happy to learn about the town and to hear all kinds of interesting voices. I do think that Mayor Palumbo did a fine job of managing all the different voices. I just have a few quick questions to Mr. Corso. Mr. Corso, do you regret being in that parade?
I regret what happened that day as a result of the parade, yes. It was not meant to be brutal or vindictive or anything. It was meant as a rally and to have a good time. And sometimes things get out of hand, and I regret it happening.
You regret it happened, that things got out of hand? Thank you. Thank you. I have a question for Paul. Is it the standard operating procedure to not be able to see the audience, not being able to see the other people at the meeting?
Yes.
Everybody having the video off?
Yes.
Is that necessary?
It's part of our standard operating procedures to allow more of the screen so that you can see better for the presentation. Yes, it is.
Because I would think it's it's meaningful to be able to see what kind of faces are out there, whether demographically speaking, see who lives in Upper Township. I'm really curious. I'm not from Upper Township, and I'm really curious to see who lives there. So is it required that you do this? That you turn on people's video?
We have, I'm not technologically savvy. Paul's the one that takes care of this, but I will tell you that there are a number of folks population-wise at 127 that's showing up right now. And to put all those folks on there, it's very difficult to run a meeting and seeing different things that are going on. And in fact, there are probably a number of folks that don't want their screen to be showed, so that if they're having something to eat or something to drink, or they're trying to also take care of things at the house, they're trying to listen, but then also not, things are also going on. They're multitasking. I'm on a lot of virtual calls in my position and what I do for work, and very rarely do you attend a meeting where folks that aren't speaking are on the screen. So again, I don't know about bandwidth or any of that stuff, but there's a lot of people on here, and it really seems to be working, that it's easier for us to acknowledge when someone comes on the screen that they want to talk.
I would suggest, Ms. Grillo, if you have questions from the press's point of view, this is really a public comment portion of the meeting. So perhaps you could contact the mayor or one of the township committeemen after the meeting if you have specific questions for the press. This section of the meeting is really public comment generally for the citizens.
I understand that, and normally, if this were a regular meeting, I would have contacted people after the meeting or called them on the phone. I'm new to this beat. I simply want to do a good job, and I can't just go up to someone after the meeting and say, hey, could you clarify something? Because I might not have the opportunity. But I do understand what you're saying, and I regret having to take up so much time. I really do. Could I ask a question for Mr. Corrado?
What, and I that's up to Mr. Corrado.
I really think that you should contact the individual.
I really, right. I mean, I'm in agreement with Dan. I think it's really important that we allow the residents of Upper Township that want to speak to voice their opinion. And, so I'd ask that you refrain asking questions that are outside of the box of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Of course. Could I'll call you later then, or maybe tomorrow.
That sounds like a plan. You can work through the township clerk's office, and I'll make myself available.
And there was this one comment that was very confusing earlier, and I don't know how I could contact Mr. Schwitzer, the attorney. He was an attorney.
I really think that you should do your investigations outside of our public comment period, if that's more appropriate. So please do that. And Mayor, I would suggest that we look for any other residents or citizens that want to make comment.
I'm in favor of that. Thank you.
Can I get his last name? Maybe that, because she provided a lot of good input.
I've suggested that you call our clerk's office tomorrow, and we'll be more than happy to give you the names that you're asking about.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Sorry to take up so much time.
Would anyone else like to address the Township Committee?
Yes, I would. Hello.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Hi, thank you. This is Carolyn O'Brien again. Another thing that I'd like to say is that I think it needs to be discussed, intent. There was no intent to hurt anybody's feelings with the Trump parade. There seems to have been problems on both sides. There was no intent with something that was shared on a private Facebook page to hurt anybody outside of his friends list. There was no intent, period, to harm anyone. And that's about what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
That feels like. Yeah.
Can I comment? Dorothy Nagel from 11 East Cameron Avenue in Seaville. And I would just like to comment and say that it's so unfortunate that it has gotten to this. I think in the future, perhaps if something this sensitive develops, that maybe everybody could take a posture of listening and getting all the facts before damage is done to anybody. I'm here to say that I support Hobie, and I've saw over many, many years the good work he has done. And I feel as though this act that was done, that he apologized and took it down, I don't feel as though his intentions was wrong. I mean, I think he was wrapped up in political, like everything that's going on now. So I would ask you to really reconsider his position and don't make any moves until you hear the whole story. It's so important that you hear the whole story first before you act. And I think if that was done initially, it wouldn't have gotten to this. And I would say I am on that group, and I would call the love group for Hobie. There are so many wonderful people on there who love him and appreciate all he has done over the years. And I like to see this committee start to say what he has done instead of that little tiny awful thing that we all disagree. And we're against violence, and it's the thing that just got to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You have Chelsea Rush, Mayor.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Rush. I live on Woodbine Road in Steelmantown. I just want to comment. I've listened to this entire thing. I'm also in the We Stand for Hobie group, more as an observer. I'm also in the Upper Township Democrats Club. I'm 28 years old. I've lived here my entire life. I went to school with a lot of your kids. My mom worked in the school district for 15 years before she passed away. I live here, pay taxes here, and own a house here. I really appreciate the committee for letting us speak. I have friends of all walks of life in this township that completely disagree with me politically. And we're still friends, and that's okay. And I really hope that we can move forward from this, from all the nonsense that I've seen on Facebook in the past week or so, particularly from the We Stand with Hobie group. I'm sorry, it's not a love group. I've seen very offensive things posted in there. I would rather be able to talk to people civilly. I think it is possible to have a conversation. Social media is awful in my opinion. It's 2020, but unfortunately it's the way we communicate. But I just wanted to get on here. I've worked up the nerve to press on mute for 2 hours now. I hope we can move forward from this, but for the people who piped up and said, get out of our township, or you don't belong here, or for the millions of posts that I've seen this week that said, get out of our township. This isn't your township. This is our township. I pay taxes here too. We are paying attention. There are some of us here who disagree with you, and we can live together. So I just wanted to pipe up and say that I am here. We are here. We're listening to our elected officials. I do think we should hold our elected officials to a higher standard than us normal folk who are not elected officials. I don't really have a comment either way on the situation with Hobie, but we're here and we're listening, and people are showing their true colors right now. And I just would advise everyone to, think before they speak, and not ruin personal friendships and know, something like this.
Well, could
So,
you- Thank
I
you.
don't know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so thank you guys for giving me the time to speak. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Sure.
You can hear me?
Yes, please state your name.
Okay. Hi. Good evening. My name is Michael Lord. I'm on the
We
support
need your
Hobie
address.
side also.
Mr. Moore, we need
My
your
address
address.
My address is 5808 Southwest First Place in Cape Coral, Florida.
Okay, go ahead.
Again, I've known Hobie since like mid 70s, and I've lived in the township for a couple decades before I moved down to Florida here to retire. And all I got to say is I've known the guy since the mid 70s. I mean, what he's done for that township is irreplaceable. There's nobody that can make an argument that Hobie ever took advantage of his position there, how he handled himself, how he handled the people of the township, the volunteer things that he did, you know, the way he brought programs to life there. None of it can be disputed. The man made a mistake from a political standpoint. I mean, his life is being ruined because he made one political mistake out of a 51-year commitment to the township. The only people that are losing here, there's a few people winning, but the rest of the township is losing. I don't live there anymore, but the whole township loses when you lose people like Hobie Young. It just makes no sense at all that one mistake by this man could cause this kind of furor to where people are literally trying to ruin him. Not just get him to not be on the committee anymore now. They're extending this out to all kinds of crappy stuff. And I don't understand where the world got to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. You know, Hobie should have to make his decision what he wants to do going forward here. But for the township to attack him, these people attacking him, I just don't understand it. They must not know what Hobie has done for the township all these years. They can't possibly know the man. And we need to know the man here. This isn't just another position on your committee. You're a great bunch of guys. I know many of you. And you're a great bunch of people. But you're a much less great bunch of people without Hobie there. And I think most of you would agree with that. I mean, he's been there for everybody. And I think we should be considerate of that. And even the people that don't like what he did should be considerate of that. That's all I got to say. I hope you people reconsider, you know, getting him and letting him resign and you know, what he's being put through. It's not right. For anybody else, it may be right, but not for Hobie Young. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
You have a repeat person if you're going to go around the circle.
Carl Mason, 21 Foxborough Road in Seaville again. I'd just like to respectfully suggest that actions have consequences. If you screw up, whether you hit somebody crossing the street, whether you meant to do it or not, there's a good chance you're going to jail. If you're a publicly elected official and you post something offensive and misogynistic, there's a good chance you're going to be held to account. And that's the way it should work. You're an elected official. There's no God-given right. And for the previous caller who says it might be right for other people but not Hobie Young, who's Hobie Young? I don't know the man, but I can tell you he has a history of doing things like this, and that's not the type of person we should want representing our township. I'm sure he did some very good things. My son plays baseball at Amanda's Field. He was in charge of rec. Great. Although it wasn't done all that well, but great job. But as a whole, it's who the person is. And he has shown his true colors on more than one occasion. And he he has to be held to account for it. He's not special. He doesn't get any points for what he did in the past. If you screw up, you get held accountable for it. That's the way things work. He raised his hand. He said, put me in, elect me, and you're going to be held to a standard for that. And if we did do that, there'd be something wrong with that, hence our current political climate. So I would respectfully suggest that he made the choice. He's a big boy. He's an adult. He posted those things. I don't know what Kamala Harris did to deserve those offensive and misogynistic memes to be posted on a page about her. But there's a lot of mediocre white men who are very scared, and you're just showing your true colors. So thanks again. That's all I've got to say. I'll let you have the rest of the.
Paul?
You have Lindsay?
What is it?
Lindsay?
Okay.
I'd like to comment.
Okay. Can you state your name, please, and your address?
Carol Scola, Chadwin, Palermo.
Okay.
Upper Township is known for great schools, great fields, sports, and has been listed as one of the top places to live in New Jersey. I find it amazing that everyone doesn't look in the mirror and say to themselves, have I lived a pristine life? We've all made mistakes. Toby made a mistake. I think we should just accept his apology and move on. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I?
Yes.
Gentlemen and ladies, here's the thing that I think we need to understand.
Can you state your name for who you are?
Lindsay Scarborough Switzer, 200 Bergen Avenue, zip code 08223. So what I think is really important is right now, we don't accept that certain men, get to just like do these things. Don't get to. I want to show my daughter. I want to show my son that when you have these kinds of posts, you don't
just
get off
remember the reason you live in Upper is because of Hobie.
I'm sorry, what, sir?
It's inappropriate.
I'm sorry, sir. Who said that?
It was a member of the public that said something, and it was not their turn to talk. Paul, if you please mute that person.
Yeah, I'm having trouble figuring out.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you please continue.
Yes.
We're going to try.
For the interruption. We're getting, people speaking out again, which is not
Yeah, well,
appropriate.
people who don't understand how technology works. But that's fine. But listen, I'm young. I'm 38 years old. I'm going to be here for a long, long time. My children are young. And I expect to build a community where they are safe. And honestly, like, based on what I see here right now, I don't feel that way. Can I ask you what you will do to make me feel safe building a community that my kids feel safe?
Well, I mean, I think that there's been a discussion about, you know, having a resolution drafted that would, you know, not support any of these inappropriate things, and also,
Define
you know, I have
inappropriate,
to,
please.
I,
Sir,
I,
define
well,
inappropriate, please.
I have, it's just, you know, things that were being talked about this evening, okay? I'm trying not to put myself in any, you know, compromising situation. We have a
I
potential
understand
legality.
that. You're a politician. And what I'm asking is, can you please define inappropriate?
I said earlier that I didn't think flying of the Confederate flags inappropriate. I said that's inappropriate. Making, you know, offensive
Okay, is it
posts are
racist,
inappropriate.
Mr. Corson?
But I don't have the jurisdiction to stop somebody from posting something from their personal account. We can certainly hold,
She's talking to Palumbo.
we can hold people accountable, but I can't stop anybody from posting something on their Facebook page. There is First Amendment rights. I'm trying to develop a strategy as to inform people of things that are more appropriate. And I know you don't like that word, but you know, to me, that's defining what we're talking about here. And make statements so that, you know, we can encourage people to not do things like that. And I apologize if you feel in any way, excuse me?
Nothing. Go on.
No, I apologize if you are fearful of you know, of being intimidated or something. And you know,
No, hang on, man. I am not fearful of being intimidated by anything.
well, I misunderstood what you said earlier. It sounded like you were living, you know, with issues with people, you know, you don't feel safe. Didn't you say that?
No, I don't. I think this is like an unsafe community for my children. If you seem to
Move.
Just please let her speak. We'll speak, and then then I want to hear your opinion too. Go ahead.
No.
Who just spoke?
Go ahead.
Mayor, I think you should ask if there's anyone else that wants to speak.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I would like to speak, please.
Sure.
Hi, good evening. This is Michelle Barberi, Hope Corson Road in Seaville. I've been trying really hard to find the right words to say this evening. It's sad to read or to hear some of the things that our neighbors are saying about one another. This is not the Upper Township I've lived in for over 30 years and raised a family in. As parents, we teach our kids about code of conduct, disciplinary actions, and what constitutes harassment and intimidation, and how we are all responsible for our actions and the consequences that comes with violating those rules. Our township kids understand that, and they show it in their actions, but they also exhibit great maturity in acknowledging when they make a mistake. It's heartwarming to see the kids of Upper Township make good choices on a daily basis. You know, as adults, we need to be their role models, and we need to model the behavior we want to see in them. We all can do better. We can learn from mistakes, and we can make a concerted effort as a township to respect our neighbors and continue to make our township a great place to live. But we all need to do it together, and we need to be accountable to the ones that need us the most, our kids. And I'd like to thank you for having this open forum. I would like us all to just kind of remember that, you know, we're all living in the same area, in the same township, and we all want the same thing for ourselves and for our family and for our neighbors. So let's just be a little kinder, okay? Thank you, Mayor, Township Committee,
Thank you, Michelle.
for entertaining my comments.
Anyone else, Paul?
No, I think we're good.
All right, we're good. We're just wait, Dan. I want to make sure that that you're at a comfort level where we can close.
Yeah,
the
I would just ask one more time, if anyone wants to speak, speak now. We're going to close the public.
May I make a comment?
Yeah, state your name, please.
Carolyn O'Brien.
Have you
I'd like
spoken
to make
before?
a comment.
Twice.
I live in Seville.
She's
I'd like to
spoken
read
twice.
a comment that is on the page for Hobie. And I'm not going to mention who made the comment, but it kind of sums it up. They've known Hobie and his family for many, many years. He's truly for we the people, all people, regardless of political party, regardless of gender, religion, or race. Hobie is not only for the people of Upper Township, but for those even outside of Upper Township. He has given advice, lended a hand, reached out to those in need, been there for his athletes as a coach and a mentor. He's a good man, a family man, and for those attempting to smear his good name, stellar reputation, and character should face the full extent of their pathetic actions. We, as a family, support Hobie Young and his family. What Hobie and his family have been put through is truly disgraceful. As one member put it, we'll stand. And that's it.
At this point, Mayor, I would only accept any comments from individuals that have not yet commented. We do have meeting rules about repetitive comments. So.
Is there anyone else that would like to address the Township Committee?
Yes, I would. Jody Augustine, 100 Old Tuckahoe Road, Petersburg. Can you hear me?
Yes, Joe.
I've been following this whole thing here, and I don't have to hash over how long I've known Hobie and what he's done for the township in the past and in the future here. He organized a lot of stuff, and what he did online was not malicious. It was just a joke. And the thing is, how do people interpret them pictures? I've seen them, and I interpreted them not with a dirty mind. And apparently people interpreted it with a dirty mind. I don't know how else to word that in college words or $500 words, but that's the way I interpret it. So I think we want to be very careful in how you do things. I believe, in my opinion, that you would table this and do an in-depth investigation and an opinion on how you interpret them pictures. And that's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can you see me? Hello?
Paul, are you?
Maggie is trying to turn on, I guess, her camera, but.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not working. I'm happy to talk without my camera if that's fine.
That's fine. We can hear you.
Hi, my name is Maggie Garrett. I was born and raised in Ocean City. I happened to be home last weekend. I actually now live in Washington, D.C. I live on Kenyon Street in Washington, D.C. I had zero intention of speaking tonight, but I would like to say, one, I did happen to walk by the boat ramps in Beasley's Point. I did see the Confederate flag there. It was around 12:30 that I saw it there. I happened to be just walking by. It was easy for me to see as someone walking by. And second, what really just compelled me to speak is that the last person said that some people misinterpreted the memes that were on Hobie's site. And I just need to say for the record, for those of you who have not seen the memes, one was of the vice presidential candidate, a woman, a Black woman, performing a sexual act on the J-O of Joe in Joe Biden. The second meme was a picture of Kamala Harris chained so that her legs were wide open. And the implication was that she is so dirty that flies were coming out of her vagina. That is what he posted. And because people are claiming that it was nothing, I felt the need to just name what we're talking about. And I also think that it's important to name that he is an elected official. And this isn't about free speech. I actually am a free speech lawyer, so I know a lot about free speech. That's not what we're talking about here. And I think that it is also very important that this isn't about one incident. I actually am not even Facebook friends with him, but have encountered his racial comments on other people's Facebook pages, and I have seen them. So I actually knew who he was simply because of his antics on Facebook before this even happened. So I'm sorry that I'm calling in. I know that I'm not in the district. I don't live in.
Yeah, you're not.
I also think that it's quite telling, and I am home a lot, but I think it's quite telling that people on the other side feel the need to interrupt and make the comments. I think that's very telling of that side. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to me. Again, I had no intention, but to pretend that these means were something that they're not, I just think we needed to acknowledge what they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I would like to speak briefly, if it's okay, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I would like to speak briefly. My name's Anthony Jackson. I live at Stagecoach Road in Seaville.
Yes.
I've known Hobie probably since I was a kid. I've lived here since I was 3 years old, from 1985 to today. I understand what he posted. Obviously, some people are going to interpret that different ways. Was it wrong? Probably yes. Poor judgment. To crucify the man over this, the attacks on him are just heinous to me. I know it's a politically correct world today, unfortunately, but I think if people are Christians, the Bible says to forgive somebody. I think the man apologized. I know it's too late to get him back in. Once he announces this resignation, the committee is someone else is appointed to the committee. I think personally it should be left to the people to vote on when he's due up to the next election, whether they bring him up on the board sooner to have him vote or have the township committee make a vote on it if he should be removed from committee. I know that one person just said about freedom of speech. It's on the personal page. Yeah, was it wrong? Whatever. But I've also seen other people from political standpoints talk about the fly weeks before that being on the vice president's head. So, and there was interpretations of what they're calling him. Stuff I won't repeat about the vice president, which I just think is all wrong on a lot of social media. Unfortunately, it's just the way it is today. But like I said, I've known Hobie. He's done a lot for the community, from football to athletics, all the group events he's done in the township over the years. I appreciate it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think we have reached.
If there's nobody else that wants to talk, I have one quick statement. My name's Carolyn O'Brien from Seaville. I'd like to ask, since he was voted in, if he can complete his 1 year left term and let the people decide whether or not he gets voted back in. And that's my statement for tonight. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else? Right. I think we've reached the limit of the calls, and so and I thank everyone for being as courteous as possible. This was a difficult evening for everyone that are on the calls and everyone on the township committee. This is obviously a very personal, sensitive, emotional issue, and I appreciate everyone giving their opinions and allowing us to hear your concerns and on both sides, and I appreciate that, and I wish you all a good week, and thank you for joining the call again. But I'll call on Committeeman Coggins to read a statement that will move the Township Committee into closed session.
And I would ask, Mr. Coggins, if you would read the motion that has the 4 matters.
Understood. I hereby move that a resolution be incorporated into the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into an executive session for the following matters pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. The matters of safety and security for EMS Member of Understanding, for the EMS Lifeline Program, contract negotiation for tax lien assignment, potential litigation on the municipal vacancy. I also include in my motion the estimated time and the circumstances under which the discussion and conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. It is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon the determination of the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. With respect to contract negotiation, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there is no longer a reason for confidentiality. With respect to litigation matters, such discussions will be made public when litigation is complete and the applicable appeal period has expired.
Second, would you call the roll, please? Barbara?
Yep. Mr. Barr? Mr. Barr is muted.
Yes.
Mr. Coggins?
Yes.
Mr. Corson?
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo?
Yes.
Motion is carried. All in favor.
So Dan, do you want to make the statement that we potentially could come back to open session from, well, we have to come back to open
Well,
session.
we will come back from closed session, and we will reopen open session. I don't anticipate any action being taken, but if someone wants to stay on this site until we come back, they can see the remainder of the open session.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Y'all are still on. Frank, turn your shit off. Do you love it?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Couldn't hear you a minute ago. Now I can.
We can hear you, Dan.
Good.
Yep.
Waiting for Curtis.
Yes, Curtis and yeah, that's it, I guess. We have Ed on. Let me send a text to Curtis. Maybe he's having trouble getting on.
There he is.
Oh, there's,
He's having
okay,
technical difficulties.
okay.
I don't know how we put man on the moon with these computers.
Okay, so everyone's here. You can open it up.
Yes, so, first of all, that we need to make a motion to come out of closed session into open session.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn from closed session and resume the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
Let's call the roll.
Excuse me, Paul, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You recording?
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you're recording.
Yeah, it's still recording.
Okay, all right, very
Never
good. I'm
stopped.
sorry about that. Okay, that was, Ed, you made a motion. John, you second?
No, backwards.
Backwards.
John
Oh.
made the motion and Ed seconded.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo,
Yes.
motion is carried.
Would
I'd
someone
like to make a motion to
motion?
adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Would you call the roll?
Mr. Barr,
Yes.
Mr. Coggins,
Yes.
Mr. Corson,
Yes.
Mayor Palumbo,
Yes.
motion is carried.
All right, thank you all. Have a great evening.
Good night.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everyone.
Take care. Have a good night.
Good night,
All right.
all.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Meeting adjourned, 10:55.